Good morning. We're happy to have all of you here today for a ceremony honoring a Congressional Medal of Honor winner. Mr. Sammy Davis is here with us today on behalf of the Springdale School Board, our Superintendent, Dr. Jim Rollins, and our Principal, Mr. Pete Jinks. We're very glad to have you here today for this event. First, we'd like for everyone to rise and present the colors. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Ms. Selena Tamadad will sing the national anthem. The color of guard today is from the FFA department today, and we appreciate them coming out. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now Ms. Tamadad will sing the national anthem. Please remain standing.
Whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, their bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Be seated. Thank you. I tell you, that was awesome. For that all day. Before our speaker comes to the stage, we have a short video we'd like to show. It tells you a little bit of the history of the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's about 7 or 8 minutes long, and then Mr. Davis will take the stage. He'll do his presentation. We'll have a period of time for questions and answers if you'd like. Okay? Coach Langley? Okay.
I was born in a little place called Quietdale, West Virginia. Sunshine, windows, green grass, you don't have to lock the door kind of neighborhood.
I'm one of 7 children that was born in Gallup, New Mexico.
I started working at an early age, and I wanted to be a soldier.
Joining the military, I knew at a young age, I'd say around 7.
There was always a parade in town. They always hung the flag on all the party meters.
They had this red stripe down their trousers, and they were really sharp. I says, someday I want to be one of those. So those were U.S. Marines.
only my duty but my privilege to serve the country.
Although I was 13 years old at the time, I finally took matters in my own hand and afforded my mother consent papers.
My feeling was I was born here in America and I'm going to be American.
Not going to change everything. And I knew at that point that I had to dedicate my life to doing something about it.
I was liberated by the HAR-BER Armor Division. This was something you never forget. I made a promise. If Lord had me, if I ever go to America, I'm gonna become a G.I. Joe. When we hit the beach at Iwo Jima, we had about 278 Marines. We were down to 17.
When they hit my position that night, it was so dark, I couldn't see your hand in front of you.
We started hearing on the radio a whole bunch of shooting, chaos.
My primary thoughts were do something to protect those folks on the beach.
Don't want to let any of those guys down. They're right there in the heart of the fight.
And at that instant, every means of communication to the outer world that we had was destroyed by the enemy. They had immense power, but we had a greater will. We had made up our mind that we were not going to be taken as prisoners alive.
I had Marines who were out in Abilene and Kennedy's NBA with entrenching tools and helmets and rock.
These were my guys. They all made it right now. The job was to go.
Everybody there in that patrol that day thought they were going to die. You know, there's no way, stuck on the side of this cliff, that any of us were going to get out of here. But what I do know is I got 2 guys that needed help. I remember getting up and running to them. It seemed like everybody in the valley was shooting at me. Tried to do everything I could until, he died there.
Well, I wanted death that day, I wanted death. War is horrifying, it's like horrifying.
The worst thing that can happen to a human being is to have to take the life of another human being. But there is one reason that they can do that terrible thing, and they have and they will. That reason is you. It's hard to be convey how important freedom is. It's got to be relearned by every generation. If you ask it very long, it's gone. There are times the war gets, we have to fight. Listen, America, we don't turn our back.
Our values rise from within us. Compassion, integrity, all of us serving the greater good together. All of these things that are part of the American way.
It's a love for what this country has stood for. It's a love for what this country has done in the world for others.
I got a call from the sergeant telling me that my DSC had been upgraded to Medal Mountain. I told him I didn't deserve it. And he said, it's not yours to turn in. This belongs to them. You wear it for them.
I was not a hero, but I was among heroes.
8 of my brothers fought to survive for a place we call home. And more importantly, they
they fought for their comrades. And in the end, they gave their lives. Hard work, with dignity and humility, in their honor. It's for all those soldiers that have served, wars past, the current conflicts, the future wars.
Everyone who left their life to come and be part of something bigger than them.
With the great honor comes the great responsibility.
In spite of the many different challenges we get, the United States has always been a country that has gone over and above to do what's right.
I'm just honored and grateful to be living in this great nation. If we have to fight for it, we will.
There's people over there right now fighting for us. Those people that did it yesterday, they're doing it today. And no matter where we're at, they're over there doing it again tomorrow. No matter how bad things are, they will continue. That's what makes America great.
It's my honor and privilege today to introduce to you Mr. Private First Class Sammy L. Davis. How y'all this morning? Most of you said good. What I would like to do is open it up to question and answer. Now I have an 8-page speech here that I can read, or I can answer your questions. What would you rather do? Speech? Oh, question. All right, we'll do the questions. Who would like to ask the first one? Yes, sir.
What president gave you the Medal of Honor?
Lyndon Baines Johnson. Have you seen the movie Forrest Gump?
No, sir.
I'm the real Forrest Gump. When the president's putting the Medal of Honor around Forrest Gump, that's my actual film footage. That's me. They just put Tom's face over mine. Seriously. I'm the real Forrest Gump. And Miss Dixie, that's the only similarity between Jenny, which is Forrest lady in the movie, and Dixie is that I love Dixie as much as Forrest loved Jenny, but there's no other similarities. Which means she didn't do drugs or all that. Next question. Yes, sir.
How long did you serve?
How long did I serve? I went into the military in 1966. I was medically retired in 1984, but I still serve. That's a continuing job. Next question. Are we done? Yes, ma'am.
What wars were you a part of?
What war was I part of? Vietnam. I went to Vietnam March 1967 and returned to stateside March of 1968. Yes, ma'am.
How old were you when you went to war?
I was 19 when I went to the military, right out of high school. Yes, sir.
What did you do whenever you got back?
What did I do when I got back from the war? Well, General William Childs Westmoreland was the commander of all the military forces, and he befriended me. He treated me like a son, and he was a 5-star or 4-star general that was in charge of the military, and he would come get me, and we would go talk to the troops, military bases all over the United States, and then military bases all over the world. So I would go and answer their questions. And that's what I still do. I answer your. How many of you would like to have the opportunity to hold Forrest Gump's Medal of Honor? I'm being very serious.
All right, we'll take it off. This is the original medal, so I would ask that you be careful with it. Well, there have been 2,700,000 students hold this medal. Now the ribbon has been replaced, the medal is original, but they've been kind to it, so I'd appreciate if y'all be kind to it too.
Thank you. And we do have a limited time, so get it, make it move as quickly as practical.
Next question? Yes?
Did you always want to join the military?
Did I always want to join the military?
No, as a kid getting out of high school.
Yes, ma'am. My dad had been in World War II. My oldest brother had been in Korea. Next oldest brother had been in the Berlin conflict. Next oldest brother had joined in between wars, so he didn't actually go to any war. My grandfathers on each side had been in the Spanish-American War and then in World War I. So somebody had always been serving in the military, and when Vietnam came along, it was my turn. I went to do my job. I went to Vietnam to help the people be free. Do you think freedom's worth fighting for? Yes, ma'am, I do too. And I still fight for freedom. That's one of the reasons why I go all over the United States and talk to students, is because I want you to stand up firmly for what you believe is right in your heart, because I believe in you. Cool? Yes, ma'am.
What did you do to earn the Medal of Honor?
What did I do to earn the Medal of Honor? There were 42 of us, I was in the artillery, and there were 42 of us artillerymen, and there was 1,500 of the enemy. And they thought because of our small numbers that all they had to do was to charge us, and we'd go, oh my, and turn and run. And we didn't. We stayed and did our job. We took care of each other. I did for my brothers simply what I knew they'd do for me. How could I not swim across that river and save 3 of my brothers when I knew that they would come get me? I did for them what I knew they'd do for me. That's what life's all about, isn't it? If you treat each other the way you would like to be treated, it works. Yes, ma'am.
So from the moment you enlisted, when you got out of high school, what were your steps after that? Like, how did you advance?
In the military? Well, you work hard, go to different schools, learn different things. My father had been artillery, and my grandfather had been artillery. So I said, well, I would like to be in the artillery, so that's what I worked towards. I learned a lot. I'm a pretty good artilleryman today. Next question?
We don't let him have the explosives at home anymore.
Darn it. Next question. Oh, yes, ma'am. What is the best thing that I learned in the military? Well, I would have to say the best thing I learned in the military was the fact that you don't lose until you quit trying. No matter what you're faced with in life, you don't lose till you get to that point where you go, all you have to do is just keep trying. It works. Yes, sir. How was my sense of humility? Well, because I don't have it on. I know I'm not a hero. Truly, I'm 70 years old and I'm scared of the dark. I'm not a hero. But I love my fellow man. And maybe that can be explained as humility, I don't know. But I wear that for all of my brothers and sisters that earned it but didn't receive it. Does that answer that all right? Next question. Yes, sir.
Was this your dream job?
Say again?
Was this your dream job?
Dream job.
Dream job.
What's your dream
Oh,
job?
dream job. I was artillery. I got hard hearing actually. Was this my dream job? talking to students is a dream job. True, I have got to meet some of the finest people in the world in my travels across America talking to the youth of America. That, to me, is a dream job. What's your dream job, sir?
I have no idea yet.
What grade you in? 12. 12? Well, it was in the 12th grade that I decided that I wanted to go to Vietnam and help people be free. So that dream job has led into this. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here doing this. Yes, sir.
First, sir, I would like to apologize. This question is really insensitive, but it might be inappropriate, but I'm actually quite curious as to what the response to this question is. And my question is, have you ever had to take a life from somebody? And if you had, what was your thought process behind it?
Have I ever had to take the life of someone?
Yeah.
In combat, our job is to do our job as soldiers. Yes, sir. I have had to take the life of someone. They were doing their job. They were trying to take my life. The reason why I'm standing here, that I was a little better trained and more determined than they were.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. And that's not an insensitive question.
And
That's,
how did you feel about it?
and how did I feel about it? I won't say that it didn't concern me, because it has. That's been 48 years ago. But how I justify it is that I know in my heart that they were a young person just like I was a young person doing what their sergeant had just told them to do. I did my job. They were doing their job. I'm going back to Vietnam for the first time June the 12th. And we are meeting with some of the men that were my previous enemies. And we're going to sit down but first we're going to hug each other. I hope, because that's one thing, I want to hug them. They have been a part of my life for 48 years, and I would like to finally meet them when we weren't doing our job as soldiers. We're just going to be doing our job as people. Cool. In Army speak, hua means do you concur? Do you understand? That's why I say hua all the time. According to my wife, I say hua too much, but I just want to make sure that you understand. Hua. And your proper response, if you understand, is hua back. Hua. Yeah, that was good. Hua. Very good. Next question. Yes, sir.
I have another question. It is actually a weird question, but can you describe the setting of Vietnam?
Can I describe the setting?
Yeah, like a visual picture of it, if that's possible.
Well, it would depend on where you were in Vietnam and what the setting was.
What you saw.
What I saw?
Yes, sir.
Triple canopy jungle. We were always wet because it's a big swamp down where we were. You were always wet. Lots of green. I learned how to eat bananas and pineapples grown right in the field. It was awesome. And lots of ducks and elephants. There's nothing more precious than a baby elephant. I remember the first baby elephant I watched it be born actually. And one of the first things that it did was when I walked up to it, it smelled me everywhere. You could hear it going, and evidently that didn't stink because or stink too bad, because it kept smelling me. It was awesome. They're precious. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
What are the medals on your jacket?
What are the other medals on my jacket? The first one is the Purple Heart. You know what the Purple Heart is? The Purple Heart is for getting wounded in combat. And I have an oak leaf cluster in mine, which means I've got wounded more than once. I was wounded twice. Let's see, the next one is the Army Commendation Medal, which just means that I was a good soldier. The next one is, that's Good Conduct Ribbon, which means I didn't get caught doing anything bad. Next one is National Defense Ribbon. Everyone that served in the military honorably could wear one of these. And the next one is Vietnamese Service and Vietnamese Campaign. It just means that where I served was in Vietnam. Yes, ma'am. Where's the medal at? Okay, so all of these students here have seen it? Okay, keep it rolling. How much time do we have?
You have a
So we've only got 20 minutes to have everybody else have the opportunity to hold it. So keep it rolling. Next question. Yes, ma'am.
You said you're getting the opportunity to go back to Vietnam?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel about getting to go back?
How do I feel about it? Well, part of me is extremely excited, and the other part of me is extremely excited. I know that it's because I'm going back with one of the 3 men that I swim across the river for. Jim Deister was the man that had been shot through the head and had been shot through the chest. And I thought he was dead, but I didn't want to leave him on the enemy side of the river, and I brought him back, and he survived. I got to hold Jim Deister's grandbabies, which still gives my soul strength. And we're going back today, and we're going to stand on this same riverbank where I drug him across the river. And he's bringing his wife with him, and I will have Miss Dixie with me. So it's going to be, to say that it's going to be emotional is an understatement, but it's time. Yes, sir.
How was basic training? How was basic training? Basic training was awesome, simply because it took me places that I didn't know existed and tested me in ways that I didn't know existed. That's where I started learning the fact that you don't lose until you quit trying. And our sergeant definitely was meant to push us to that extent, to see who would quit, because not everybody's cut out to be in the military. I wanted to be there, so I kept trying, and I made it.
And how long did you that?
In basic training, 8 weeks. I went basic training 8 weeks, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, to learn my advanced individual trade, which was artillery. Then I got to go home for 28 days, and then did Cool. Next question. Yes, sir.
So war obviously has a chance to change the impact and stuff. What was your change in like moral ethics and just everyday thinking?
What was the change in my moral ethics and everyday? Because I went in to the military at a young age, because I went to Vietnam at a young age, I really don't know what kind of person I would have been if I had not done all that. But I know that being in the military and meeting people from all over the world has given me a better understanding and depth to the love that I have in my heart for the people. Do you understand that? Simply because when your world's only this big, you can become very biased. But when I'm talking about your emotional world, when it gets much, much larger, all of a sudden you realize that we're all important. And I will treat you the same way you treat me. If you treat me with love and respect, you will get love and respect back from me. And that's the way it's supposed to be, in my opinion. We all agree with that? You get what you get. And you don't lose until you quit trying. Next question. I can see you have a question now. All you got to do is ask it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What were some of the troubles you went through in the war?
What were some of the troubles that I went through? Well, there were a lot of troubles. I think the things that still haunt me the most is the fact seeing your brothers get shot, blood up, and I was not a doctor. But our medic had taught us, when we weren't doing other things, he would take the time to teach us. I remember he taught us how to tie off a femoral artery. You all know what the femoral artery is? It's a big artery that runs in your leg. And because he had to do this many times, he thought it was important that we learned how to do it. And he taught us that, he said, you take your dental floss, which all of us carry dental floss in our bag on our back. He said, you take your dental floss, you clean the area off, and basically tie it off, keep it as clean as you can, put a tourniquet on the leg, and get them to a med station. Well, the night that I earned the Medal of Honor, one of the kids, he had got shot right through the leg, And when I crawled past it, his femoral artery was going like a garden hose. And what my sergeant had taught me was there. Now, I was scared, I was tired. I'd been shot 30 times. That's how Forrest, where was Forrest wounded? Yes. And an AK-47 round in the right thigh. So I was down, you know, I didn't know how much longer I could last, but I wasn't going to quit trying. And when I crawled past this young man, and his femoral artery went, I thought, wow, I've got to fix it, I've got to help my brother. So I crawled back to my original position, got because the doc's rules had been you get your dental floss, not somebody else, you know. Stupid things that when you're hurting and you're, you know, low on blood, and it's what's there. And it was my dental floss. So I got my dental floss, came back, cleaned the area off, tied the femoral artery off, put a bandage on it, and then pulled him behind me to where the aid station had been temporarily set up. It saved his life, it saved his leg. He still got a leg. Now it's you know, well, his legs look like my legs, all blowed up. We're still working. Don't lose me, quit trying.
It's a dental floss, isn't it?
Yeah. No, they took the dental floss out.
You've got about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Well, one of the things that I want to share with y'all today, of all the things that I learned how to play a harmonica. Did any of you play a harmonica by chance? Well, the reason why I learned how to play the harmonica was that according to my mother, there was a 63-day time period that I did not write to her. And that was our only form of communication. And she became very concerned. She thought that something had happened to me. And she went to the local Red Cross and talked to them and said, well, what am I going to do? I haven't heard from my son, Sammy, for 63 days. They said, well, we will send his name to the Pentagon. The Pentagon will run the roster of those that are wounded or have been killed, and we will get back with you. Well, when the Pentagon was running my name, they found out that we were in a small unit, a little over 100 people was in our unit, and 51 of us had not been writing home to our mamas, to the point that 51 of our mamas had went to Red Cross and turned our name in. So the Pentagon was compiling the list of names and seeing that there were 51 of us out of the same unit, and he wrote a letter to our captain and said these men have not been writing home to their mother, encourage them to do that. So my captain came to me, it was like 5:30 in the morning, still darkish down on the ground, sky just getting pink, and he come walking in to my foxhole and sat down on a mud bag and leaned forward to me. Now I thought that the only reason that as I seen him walking towards me, the only reason I could think that he would be coming out there to talk to me at 5:30 in the morning was that Mom and Dad had been in a bad car wreck, or that their house had burnt. That was what I thought that he just, and he had this real serious look on his face. And he leaned forward and he said, Private Davis? I said, yes, sir. Now I'm expecting the worst. And he said, Private Davis? I said, yes, sir. You haven't been writing home to your mother. And I said, well, no, sir. He said, well, why not? Well, as my captain, he was extremely aware of what we'd been involved in and the amount of battle that we had been in. And I said, I don't have nothing that I can write. How do you write home to Mama and say, gee, Mom, Bill just got blown in two yesterday? I mean, I'm being very serious. I mean, how do you write home to that? I thought, well, tomorrow will be a better day. Surely tomorrow something will happen. And evidently there were 63 days that nothing positive happened. And he said, well, I don't care what you write about, and I don't care what you write. I told him that one of the reasons also was that we were always wet down in the Delta. And he said, I told him that our writing material would turn into spit wads, and you can't write on spit wads. And he said that, well, with every meal that you eat, you have 4 opportunities you write home to your mother. You have the C ration boxes. You all know what C rations are, right? MREs. He said, with each meal that you eat private, you have 4 opportunities to write home to your mother. You have the front and the back, big postcards, the sides, little bitty postcards. So I started writing home to Mom every day, and I wrote about the bugs, because I didn't want to write home about what was really happening. So I wrote about the mud, and I wrote about the baby elephant, and I would draw pictures. And I'm not an artist, but these are every day. I would write home to Mom, and after a few weeks, well, I got a harmonica in the mail, and on the box of the harmonica she had written, and that box and that harmonica is in the Medal of Honor Museum in Patriots Point, South Carolina. And on the box it said, "Son, I hope this helps you be not quite so bored." So it was working good. Mom wasn't scared for me anymore. In fact, she thought I was bored. Well, I didn't know how to play it. I put it in my pocket and went back to my foxhole. Within just a very short period of time, one of my sergeants, Johnston Dunlap, came walking by, and he said, "Private Davis, did your brother send you a harmonica?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Well, play Shenandoah for me." You all know the song Shenandoah? Well, I'd been in the band in high school, played the drums, and that had been one of our songs, so I had a basic knowledge of Shenandoah. So I went an E6, asked a private, that was only one stripe, and he had 5 stripes. You learn how to play the harmonica. So I started blowing on it, and I would sit there and I would watch the perimeter to make sure that was my job. I would watch, make sure that the bad guys weren't trying to sneak in and blow us up. And I would sit there and play the harmonica. We were artillery. It was okay that they could hear me. You know, we weren't sneaking. I mean, when the artillery fired, everybody in the world knew where we were. So I would sit there and I'd play Shenandoah over and over and over and over. Within a few weeks, you could tell what I was trying to play. And Sergeant Justin Dunlap and I became very good friends and spent a lot of time in the foxhole together. I asked him, why was Shenandoah your favorite song? And he said, he had been in 4 years in the military, had gotten out to go to college out by Washington, D.C., and he said not everybody there had the depth of patriotism in their heart that he had. That college was then and is still today a very liberal college. It's where all the hippies went. And he said rather than having a physical confrontation with these people that did not love freedom as much as he did, he would get in his car, drive 70 miles straight west to the Shenandoah River Valley and up on a bluff and park your car and you walk out through the woods and he would sit on a rock with his legs hanging over the rock and look down into the Shenandoah River. He said looking up the valley was just so beautiful and the faint breeze that would come with just a faint hint of pine in it. And he said just sitting there with the beauty of God and it would just renew my soul and give my soul strength sitting there. And he said, Sam, when you play Shenandoah for me, that's where I go in my heart. Is I'm back on that rock, looking at that beauty, and my soul gets renewed. Thank you. When my sergeant was killed in Vietnam, and I played the harmonica today, I play Shenandoah for him. I would like to play it for you today. I hope that it finds a place in your heart and that you need it the most. The song of Springdale will give your soul strength also. Held the Medal of Honor yet? Who has not held it?
Yeah, like just this.
Okay, we're doing good then. Keep it rolling. We've got a couple minutes left, so any more questions? And I will answer any question that you have. There's no stupid questions, there's stupid answers, but there's no stupid questions. Yes, sir.
How long has first meet your wife?
I'm sorry, sir, couldn't hear you.
When did you first meet your wife?
When did I first meet my wife? Miss Dixon, please come up and explain this. This is an awesome story.
And 1 minute to tell you. I don't usually get to talk, so why don't you have a seat for a minute? I was married to a hospital corpsman from Vietnam, and he ended up passing away from Agent Orange cancer. I lived in Texas with him. Sam lived in Illinois with his wife Peggy, and she passed away like 4 years later from cancer also. And we all knew each other. My husband was an entertainer, so a lot of times he would be entertainment where Sam was speaking. And when one day after Peggy Jo had passed away, I got an email from Sam that said, "Dixie, how are you doing?" And I stared at my computer. I didn't know what to say. And then I realized that when you lose someone, you need to talk about them. And most people get uncomfortable with that. They think that it brings up sadness. But so anyway, we started talking about Peggy Jo. We talked about Tim. We talked about our lives together. And then we talked about our kids and our grandkids. And then this was all email. We just kept writing. One day, Sam was cleaning his desk. And now that we've been married for a long time, he's only done that once in his whole life.
I'm a stacker. I have neat stacks, but I'm a stacker.
A little Post-it note fell out of a phone ledger, and in Peggy's handwriting it said, "Call Dixie." And it had my phone number on it. So he sat down and called me, and we laughed and we talked, and here we are. I think that you think you know where your life is going to go and what you want to do. I thought I would just be a grandma the rest of my life. And God had other plans for me. I just didn't know it yet. So what we found out over the years is that we both had good marriages, but with each other we found out that we had something even more. Tell me about your book. I wrote a book this last year. It's been released. It's called Endless Love and Second Chances. And Sam's book, You Don't Lose Till You Quit Trying, you might have heard him say that, is released on May 3rd, and they're both available at Amazon.com. And his is about his childhood and then about how he earned the Medal of Honor. And mine, I tell you all the good stuff.
Next question. Yes, sir.
What was the artillery piece that I served on? 105 howitzer. 5-inch diameter shell about knee long. It'll shoot 7 miles accurate. Yes, sir.
I just want to know, like, what was one of the most craziest experiences in Vietnam?
What was the most crazy experiences in Vietnam? Well, I had a lot of crazy experiences. Riding an elephant. And it was just one of those times when we weren't involved in war stuff, and there were elephants, and I'd always wanted to ride an elephant, so I asked the Mahout if I could ride his elephant, and he was kind of, he said, okay. Well, I had been watching him enough that you know what the stick is, and it's got a little hook on the end of it, and that's how you guide him. And he complimented me on the fact that I was such an elegant elephant driver. That was awesome. That was one of the craziest things I ever did. How many here's driven an elephant? But would you like to drive an elephant? It's awesome. We got time for another question? Yes, ma'am. What were my passions? Girls. Girls. Yeah, girls. And everybody has held it that wants to, correct? Academically, history. has always been, I was always very inquisitive on the history of how it actually happened. And now I am part of history. So it's kind of unique. But I've always enjoyed history. I never was big in math. I never was big in English. I still don't talk English that great according to my teacher. But I would say history was what intrigued me the most. And having the privilege of going to many places in the world about the history that we read about and be there and see some of the sights, it's been very rewarding.
Sam?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I brought with me a Medal of Honor book that has the stories about the Medal of Honor and the men that earned it. And I would like to present this to the school and to the principal, sir. In Bentonville, today there are 14 Medal of Honor recipients that have came in from all over the United States to talk to the schools. And all of us signed the book. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the excellent questions. Always remember that no matter what you're faced with in life, you don't lose until you quit trying. God bless you.
Let me see. If you have more interest, teachers, as soon as you want, when you get back, you'll Google search Sammy L. Davis, Congressional Medal of Honor. There's a short 11-minute video put out by the museum where he tells his story, and it's inspirational, the things he did. This man was shot 30 times. He swam across the river and ferried over 3 of his brothers to safety. It's an incredible story. I can't wait to read the book, and we're buying it this summer. Once again, we're so honored to have him here today. Let's give him one more hand, and then we'll Okay, I think it's 6th period. All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all for the excellent questions.